Hey everybody, how is it going? Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I just want to go over the big news of the day. First off, which was, of course, the Federal Reserve released their meeting minutes. Then I just want to get into the charts of the overall market, just to show you how they reacted and, my opinion on how they reacted. Then I want to get into some nice looking charts and also some of the trades that I made today. I actually made a couple of trades today. It's the first time I've had a multiple trade day in a while, so we'll go over that. But first, let's get into this article that talks about the Fed meeting minutes. And I apologize for my voice, still a bit horsey. I feel a little bit better today. First day I haven't been on a Dayquil and a NyQuil, so I might be turning the corner here, but hopefully you guys can understand my voice. But this meeting starts off with the Federal Reserve officials saw potential to be more hawkish if inflation persists. No kidding. But let's get into this part. It says the Federal Reserve's policymakers judge that an increase of 50 or 75 basis points would likely be appropriate for the next meeting, according to the minutes of the Federal Open Market Committee's June 14th to 15th meeting. That was no surprise. Everybody's thinking that they're going to probably raise either 50 or 75. With, I think most people that I'm hearing talking, they're expecting another 75 point basis hike. Who knows what is going to happen. I think inflation has peaked for the time being, and it's going to start coming down, especially with oil getting hit. Obviously, that's not going to show up in the next CPI reading, but it will probably show up in the one after that if oil continues to remain under pressure. I think that's going to be a nice tailwind for the market. But getting back into this article, they said that they also recognize the possibility that even more restrictive stance could be appropriate if elevated inflation pressures persisted. So the big question here is how hawkish is the Fed going to be? I think in an election year, they're going to be very cautious. If they were going to do the responsible thing, they would probably be tightening even harder because the number one thing on everybody's mind is inflation, and our labor market is still pretty decent for the moment. So at least in the near term, you wouldn't have to worry about crushing the labor market too hard. So the responsible thing obviously would be to be more hawkish. But being that this is an election year, I highly doubt they are going to be super hawkish. But this also goes on to say that at the same time, they were aware that the rate hikes could slow the pace of inflation for a time. However, they saw the return of inflation at 2% as a critical for achieving maximum employment on a sustained basis. I don't really think that employment is too much of a problem at the moment, but if they can get it back down to 2%, that would be optimal. And I think if they get it down to 2% in the next 12 to 18 months, that would be absolutely amazing. I don't expect to see it that low for quite a while, but who knows? It all depends on how things work out. If we see oil prices really start to come down, and that's a big if, then I think that's going to go a long way to bringing inflation down towards that 2% level. All right, so let's jump over to the market averages and see how the market reacted to those Fed meeting minutes being released. And at first, it was a little bit choppy, but let's zoom in a little bit here. You can see the market gapped up, pulled all the way back down to that 8-period exponential moving average and held it. That is a very important sign for the uptrend and for the potential of this market bottoming and hopefully heading into a summer rally. I would like to have seen a little bit stronger than what it ended up being for today, but all in all, really not bad price action after a big green candle from the day before. Let's actually go to the minute chart. And let me back it up here. This is when the Federal Reserve minutes came out. In case you don't know or don't remember, I am in a TQQQ call option trade about the 25.50 call for 41 cents a couple of days ago, thinking that the market was going to rally, or I should say yesterday morning. And as the market started to get closer to these Fed minutes being released, I was super close to trimming half of my position off and then also buying some SQQQ calls, thinking the market was going to sell off. Now, I am of the opinion that the bias on the market is up, and that's why I didn't do it. But lately, when the Federal Reserve does release their minutes, the market does end up tanking. And as we can see, it had a nice little pop up, and then it started to roll over. After this candle right here, I was really starting to kick myself. Let me see if I can get this thing to zoom in. I don't know. This little red candle right here definitely looked like the market was going to roll over, and I was considering then also jumping back into some SQQQ calls, but I didn't do so. I decided to sit tight, and I got lucky because the market started to rally. And as the market started to rally up, I actually took half of my position off. I think right about here, I sold those TQQ calls at $1.54 a piece. So I made a little bit more than triple on half of them. I was actually only going to sell a third, but with that Norwegian Cruise Line trade, that I got out of some of them at a pretty good price, but then the rest of it rolled over and they ended up expiring worthless on me. I just kind of sat there and let them go to zero because I thought we were going to get a bounce. Didn't happen. So with that in my mind, I ended up taking off half of the trade. So at least even if these ones go down to zero, I'll still make money on the trade since I sold half of them for a little bit more than triple. So the rest of this trade is practically free, and of course the thing rolled right over. So after this happened, I was wishing that I sold the rest of them. But going back to that daily chart, I do think that this pattern still looks rather constructive, so I'm still wanting to hold some of those contracts because I wouldn't be a bit surprised if we get a move at least up to this 50-period simple moving average pretty soon. Now, of course, these contracts expire on Friday, so time is of the essence. So I'm probably going to have to make a decision tomorrow if I want to hold them or get rid of them. But all in all, I think the market took the the Fed meeting minutes pretty darn good, and the Fed really didn't say anything in that meeting that the market wasn't expecting. I mean, that's all you're really looking for with these meeting minutes being released is some kind of a wild card in there that's going to shock the market, and I didn't see anything there. But let's take a look at the spider, the S&P 500. You can see the S&P 500 made it up to that 21-period exponential moving average before, tapering off a little bit towards the end of the day. All in all, I think that's a good day. Looking at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, same exact thing, right up to the 21 and pulled right back. It's amazing how often these indices do that. That's why I keep these moving averages on my chart, because I want to know when they clear them and when they're having a hard time getting above them. Looking at the IWM, you can see same exact thing. So a little bit of a consolidation day. All in all, I thought it was a pretty good day. I didn't really expect a whole heck of a lot of movement before those Fed minute and that is a tongue twister. I got to quit saying that. Before the Fed made that announcement, but all in all, looked pretty darn good. Now let's take a look at USO. You can see the oil contracts sold off again. So of course that is good news for inflation. Are we going to make it all the way down to this 200-period simple moving average? I'm guessing that we probably are. I don't know if we go down there in a straight line or not. Might go up for a day or two before we roll back down. But I think this is going to be a pretty good day for me to add to some of my oil stocks if we do end up making it down to the 200-period simple moving average on the USO. All right, so let's get into let's get into some decent looking patterns I saw real quick. One that I've been following for a while is ACRX. You can see ACRX is only a 26-cent stock, but we can see this thing has had some decent volume coming into it lately, and we got a pretty nice little flag going on with ACRX. So if this thing breaks out, I think this one could potentially be moving higher, and it's only a 25-cent stock, but I usually try not to go under $1 too much, but I really like the pattern that ACRX is making at the moment. Another one I like is OCGN. OCGN has been kind of creeping up lately, so I'm expecting this one to potentially get into that acceleration phase of the uptrend. If we get a move up, a move back down, so a move up like this, then a move back down to a support area, and it does not break that support area. So this is a little bit of a creeping trend here where it kind of breaks out a little bit, pulls back down into the consolidation, starts to move up again, and pulls back down. What I'm looking for is a breakout, pullback to support, and then a takeoff, and that's the acceleration part of the trend that I like to catch. But Oxygen, I think, has some tailwinds because, of course, they make the COVID vaccine with the Omicron variant. They're talking about how that is potentially going to be added to all of the vaccines. So that's good news for Oxygen. I think it could ride that news up higher. But, another one that I want to talk about was Blue. Actually, almost traded this one. Dot from Patreon group is making some money on this one. That's where I learned about this nice pattern that this one is making right now. And I was actually going to put a buy stop in this one before the market opened, and I took it off just before the market opened. I was going to put a buy stop in at $10.11. And if we go to the minute chart, we can see when the market opened, it just exploded through there. That would have been a great trade. I don't know if I'd have just used it as a day trade or if I'd still be holding it. So either way, it was a nice looking trade. Actually, let's go to the 15-minute chart. Because if we go to the 15-minute chart, you can see it a little bit better. Nice move up, failed breakout a few days ago. Nice little pullback, rounded bottom, so you're just waiting for it to get past that breakout zone again. That's why I wanted to put my order in at about $10.11, and had that nice blast through it on Blue. Well, let's go into the trades that I made today. I actually made two since I was feeling pretty good today. Feeling a little saucy. I figured I would take, let me see if I can get this thing to work. How about this? There we go. I figured I would take two trades since I was feeling pretty darn good. First one I traded was a day trade on WORX. I talked about this one in my pre-market video on the Patreon page. Had a nice little pullback after the gap up. Made a nice rounded bottom. Put my order in to buy on the breakout at 87 cents. Got executed at 87 cents, and I sold it at 99 cents. Right about here for a gain of about 13%. You can see it had a nice little blow-off move all the way up to about $1.10 before it ended up rolling back over and just kind of going sideways for the rest of the day. So that was a pretty decent trade. I was happy with that one. And of course, the other one that I made was on the TQQQ that I talked about earlier. Ended up selling some off of those 25.50 calls at $1.54, and I paid 41 cents for those. So those were the two trades that I made today. All in all, a pretty good day. So I was feeling good, trading good, and surprisingly, how those two things seem to go together. I try not to trade too much when I feel like crap, or when I'm just having a bad day, because believe it or not, I usually have bad trading days when I'm not feeling it. So. But I'm going to end the video right there. If you guys see anything interesting in the market, please let me know down there in the comment section if you see anything decent setting up. And if you have any questions on anything else, leave it down there in the comment section as well. But I guess until the next time, take care, everybody.